Hey solos, so you're going to Walt Disney World all by yourself and you want to know if you should stay or visit the Deluxe Villas resorts that are part of the DVC organization of Disney hotels when you go on your solo trip. Should you? Well, solo spoiler, there are 3 hotels that are explicitly deluxe villa hotels. Don't worry, I'll explain this all in the body of the body of the episode. And those 3 hotels are Old Key West, Saratoga Springs, and Riviera. Should you go and visit them on a solo stay? Well, kind of yes, kind of no, depending on which one. But in this episode, I'm going to talk all about them. Hi, everyone. It's Samantha. Olaf may not know who Samantha is, but now you do. And welcome to Disney Solo Magic, the #1 podcast for solo travel to Disney World, now in its 2nd year. We are continuing our deluxe hotel series this summer, which is really, really fun. And I was thinking, I was like, how do I get all the hotels in? And then I realized there's actually 3 hotels that are just deluxe villa hotels. And I thought, why don't I just shove them into all one episode? I mean, all these episodes have been so long anyway. Why don't I bring all of these into one episode and talk about the pros and cons of staying in them or visiting? And then, as all of these deluxe episodes have included, I do have a solo story with the deluxe villa resort that you are most apt to visit, which is Riviera. And that solo story is with Farrah Rochon, who is a Disney author. She's a romance author as well. It is such an honor to have her on the podcast. This is her 2nd time coming on the podcast. And another little solo spoiler, she'll be on later this month as well. I just feel so excited to have so many authors on the podcast this month, because last week I had AJ Wolf, who is the creator of DFB Guide and the owner of All Ears Media, and she was talking about her book on Disney adults, which is really exciting. Farrah's not going to be talking about her actual books in this episode, but I did a solo story with her last year, I guess, and we did talk about her books that she has written for Disney. So I'll put a link to that below. Along with that link below will be links to all of Farrah's social media and my social media. So I'm on Instagram, Threads, and Facebook. I'm the most active on Instagram, but when you were listening to this, I'm actually going to be at Disney. So make sure you're following me on Instagram, because I'll be posting on stories and things like that. But I also have found that stories are tricky because not everyone can see them, right? Because of the algorithm, blah, 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 blah. So I have also taken to going to Patreon and uploading photos and stories and little videos and things like that from my actual trip. And those are available on Patreon, but you don't need to be a paid member to watch them. It just will give a place for those to live more permanently than Instagram stories. And again, as a Virgo, I do like a nice grid on Instagram, so I don't want to change the pattern. So please go on Patreon. You can become a free member and you can see all of the photos and videos and things like that of the trip that I am currently on, although not when I'm recording this, but by the time you're listening. Speaking of Patreon and bonus content, there is a ton of bonus content on Patreon this month. All of the solo stories, like the one that I did for this episode with Farrah and the episode I did last week with AJ, all those videos, all those conversations are uploaded on Patreon so that you can watch it if you are a paid member. The membership is really inexpensive. It's $1 a week for Americans and $1.25 for Canadians. And then there is going to be some additional bonus content. I've been doing bonus episodes. There's going to be a bonus solo story coming up. I guess by the time you have heard this, you'll have known my big surprise about my current Disney trip. I did a VIP tour, which is very exciting. Now, VIP tours aren't really great for solos on their own. So I thought that rather than take up a whole week on the regular podcast, I will do a whole bonus episode on Patreon. So you'll be able to get that there in a week or so once I get back and settled and get to sleep and all of that stuff. One other thing about the Patreon is that there is going to be a bonus episode specifically related to DVC ownership, or Disney Vacation Club ownership. So the Disney Vacation Club is Disney's timeshare. We're going to be talking about the hotel buildings that are specifically timeshare buildings, although you can stay at them even if you're not part of the timeshare program. And on Patreon, there is an opportunity for you to vote once a month on upcoming episodes. And a couple months ago, I had asked if people were interested in hearing about what it's like to own DVC when you are solo. I have done the math myself, and I don't think the math works. But sometimes math is not important with Disney. So guess what? I have invited somebody to come and talk about their experiences being a DVC owner. And I have invited Francine, who you have already got to meet on this podcast. She has talked about one of the deluxe hotels, the Contemporary Hotel, and she was so kind to come back and do a short little bonus episode on what it is like to own DVC. Now, here's the thing. I don't really have a lot of questions other than like, is it worth it? Is it complicated? And so those are the things that we talk about, these very, very basic questions. So that episode is also on Patreon. So again, go on, check it out, and you get that content as well. Anyway, Patreon's going to be super busy and fun this August, and especially leading up to the holidays. So last year I did holiday episodes for like preparing for Halloween and preparing for Christmas. Those episodes, you can go back through the archives to find those, and I'm going to do some addendums and some reposting of them this year as well. So you'll be able to see those, and then I'll do some extra stuff related to that. All right, what else? Oh, so you can listen to this on Apple, Spotify, and on YouTube. What's really great about YouTube is that you can comment and people can see, and people have been doing that, and that is excellent. So please keep doing that. I love it when you make comments, when you suggest other things. In particular, this episode, I'm going to be talking about a resort I've never been to. So if you have experience with that resort, please go and comment and all of that stuff. So I know that most people don't listen to podcasts on YouTube, but it is a good place to comment. So please go over there. Also, it is a modest subscriber count. So when we get to 100 subscribers on YouTube, then I'll do a little video. So... So you can double subscribe. I don't mind that. I really do not mind that. Anything else? No, I don't think so. Let's get into it. All right. So Disney has 3.5 categories of hotels. Value, that's the cheapest. Moderate, which is a little bit more expensive, but also has some quiet pools. They're some of my favorite pools. The value and moderate resorts I talked about last summer, so go back in the archive if you want to listen to those. Then they have the deluxe resorts. And then I have been saying that there are 3.5 categories because there's also the deluxe villa resorts. So Disney has a timeshare program. It's called the Disney Vacation Club, or DVC. Like 20 years ago, you used to see signs all around Disney World about Disney's best kept secret. Surprise! The timeshare was Disney's best kept secret. And if you bought in then, you probably are like, oh yeah, no, it was totally worth it. It's more expensive now, obviously. But anyway, it is the Disney Vacation Club program, and they have had a timeshare program since the early 90s. They have rooms at all of the deluxe hotels, which is why I say it's like a half a category. Because if you are staying at the Grand Floridian, for example, they have DVC rooms, Disney Vacation Club rooms, that they call deluxe villas. And so I don't know, it is complicated, it isn't complicated. I've talked about the differences in the rooms between the deluxe villa rooms and just the regular deluxe rooms in other episodes. I'm not going to talk about that too much in this episode, but I do want to flag again that one of the reasons why they have the villas rather than just kind of rooms is that the idea with a timeshare is that you're buying or you're renting like a house or a villa. Disney uses the word villa very liberally because you're never really renting a whole house except in a very, a few occasions like those Polynesian bungalows over the water. But the idea is that you are renting kind of like a homey structure. So they have like a living room and a kitchen or a kitchenette, things like that. If you were staying solo, you aren't getting a whole villa. You're not getting a whole like 2-bedroom unless you want to, unless you can afford it. And then You do you, bibbidi bobbidi boo. Instead, you're getting what they call a studio, a deluxe studio, which is like a regular hotel room, maybe a little bit smaller. It doesn't often have the two beds. It does have two beds, except one is usually a pull down bed, like a Murphy bed, or a pull out bed, like a bed from a couch. But if you're going solo, you can stay on like the regular bed. So I call this like an additional category because generally the deluxe hotels are also DVC hotels, and it's just the different types of rooms. There are 3 hotels, though, that are only deluxe villa hotels. They are only the DVC hotels. That doesn't mean you can't stay in them, and I'll talk about that in a second, but it does mean that they are timeshare exclusive. Again, although not really timeshare exclusive. They don't have regular rooms. You can't just get like a room like you can at like a moderate resort that just has like 2 double beds. They're all these DVC rooms. And those 3 hotels are Old Key West, Sarasota, and the Riviera. Now, the reason why I'm saying like they're exclusive DVC, but you can still rent them, is because that's exactly what it is. They are timeshare rooms, but you can still rent them even if you're not part of the timeshare program. I'm not talking about anything related to the timeshare in this episode. So I'm not talking about points. I'm not like all of those timeshare words. Like that's not what this episode is about. It's just if you are staying as a regular guest, you can stay at these DVC hotels. You can book them on the regular Disney website. That's totally fine. But a lot of people will also go to third-party sites that rent out DVC points, and you can stay at DVC hotels or hotel rooms for cheaper. And you will often find Old Key West rooms, Sarasota rooms on these third-party sites. I have interviewed one person that runs one of these DVC third-party point companies, and that you can go back through the episode. You can go back through the archives to be able to find that episode, although I did put the link in the episode description below. I'm not going to talk too much about those because this isn't sponsored by any of those companies, so I don't want to say that one company is better than the other. There are a few industry leaders, and I would definitely go with one of those sites. Don't try to go like rent timeshare points from somebody on Facebook. I mean, it might be the most wonderful thing ever, but it also might be a disaster. So just go through a third-party website to rent those rooms. Little solo spoiler, I actually did that for the trip that I'm currently on, but I'm not going to talk about that particular stay until my birthday, although I'm sure that I have already hinted at things like that on Patreon, because by the time you're listening to this, I will already be there. So in sum, you can rent these DVC rooms just like a regular hotel room through the Disney website, but you can also do third-party DVC point rentals, which I know seems complicated, but you do get it much, much cheaper than if you do it through the website, and that might be totally worth it if you are going solo. So go check that out. So I'm putting these 3 hotels together because one hotel, I have a couple cool things to talk about. Another hotel, I really don't have anything to say about it. And the third hotel, I have quite a bit to say about it. Plus, we have the solo story with Farrah later on in the episode. And so I just thought it would be kind of nice to bring these together. So we're going to start at Old Key West. Old Key West is the very first Disney timeshare hotel. It was purposely built to be Disney timeshare. It opened in the 90s, and it had big ambitions. It wanted to be like a whole neighborhood, like kind of feels a little Golden Girls-esque because of the Old Key West type of feel. The rooms are very, very big. In fact, they are the biggest per like square footage, etc., of all of the hotels at Disney, because they, like when you're talking about villas, like they were building this to be little homes that people stayed in. It is a giant property. One time I didn't like the line. I did like the line for the bus to go to the hotel I was staying at the end of the night at one of the parks. So I guess it was Riverside that I was staying at. So what I did was I got on the empty bus to go to Old Key West, thinking what I would do was I would get off and I would take the boat to Disney Springs and then the boat to Riverside from Disney Springs, which in my brain made a lot of sense. But they stopped at every single stop before they stopped at the main building stop. And it was like 30 minutes on the bus. I remember like sitting on the bus being like, how are we still on the bus? It was a terrible, terrible idea. And then by the time we were done, the boats weren't even running. So I think I called a lift. I don't know. It was a bad decision, but it is a giant property. And it actually, like I said, it feels like a 1990s planned community type of feel. There's a lot of like loops, like cul-de-sacs and things like that. So so the buses are very slow to go around all those corners. But again, the rooms are giant, and a lot of them face the golf course that's there, which is great. Like, it really does feel like you are in a completely different kind of planned community. And it is, I think, a pretty cool place to go and stay if you are going solo, but you just kind of want a chill hotel type of experience, or a chill Disney type experience. You're not planning on hustling and bustling and going to all the parks. If you were just going, like, for example, I can see you going to this hotel if you were like going to Disney for a week, but you had to work for some of it, and then you just wanted to like chill and maybe do some parks afterwards. Because what's really great about this hotel, I kind of mentioned it before, is that it is on the water. And so it has a boat that takes you directly to Disney Springs. And so if you were going there for a week and you're like, okay, well, you know what, now that I'm thinking about this, you know what? That's so funny. I have to mention this to Farrah because by the time I'm recording this, I haven't talked to her yet about Riviera. But when I talked to Farrah before, she actually was staying at Old Key West, and she was there as a writing retreat. And she could only talk to me until this particular time because she wanted to write for another hour before she took the boat to Disney Springs for dinner. So there you go. That's why I'm thinking it's such a great place that you can go and do the very thing that Farrah already told me that she had done. What's interesting is that people who are DVC members and who go to Disney solo, whenever I'll ask them, like, what's your favorite hotel, whether it's for the podcast or just kind of casual conversations, so many people say Key West, and they remark on the very large rooms. And I guess they're also remarking on the vibes, and that's pretty cool. Now, I have been to Old Key West, but I haven't stayed there. I have taken the boat over from Disney Springs, and I have eaten at their restaurant a couple times, and I have really, really enjoyed it. So just remember, like with all of the other hotels, you can always go to these hotels, even if you're not staying at them, not to use their amenities, but to eat at their restaurants and to walk around and all of that stuff. It is very car friendly. So it's not like Port Orleans Riverside, that is a very large hotel, but all of the parking is on the outside, so you can just walk around really nicely. This is really car forward, so it's not like you can just kind of walk and get lost in all the rooms, which can be kind of nice. You really are it's a neighborhood. You really are on like sidewalks with the road and things like that. So again, I've seen it by bus, but you can take the boat over from Disney Springs. So when you dock, you are going to see a group of buildings that are attached by an open air hallway that has nice big fans. If you go through that open air hallway, on the left is the hospitality house, which is basically the reception room. It is really beautiful in there. I've gotten caught in a rainstorm there, actually. It's really beautiful. It's really serene. You can go and like sit and read a book, I guess. I don't know, that's kind of a weird place to just take the boat over to go and sit in somebody else's hotel lobby to read a book, but hey, you do you, bibbidi bobbidi boo. It's so beautiful in there. It's so tastefully done. There's a lot of cool, like little hidden treasures literally put within the bookshelves and the mantle and things like that. It's really beautiful in there. But there isn't really much to do. On the other side of this open air hallway is stuff that you can actually do. One is the general store. So the store, it's called Conch Flats. It's fine. I mean, I didn't find anything overly spectacular in that store, but the cast members were very, very friendly. And there is also Olivia's Cafe. So Olivia's Cafe is like the main restaurant at this hotel. They have a really good brunch. You might hear people talk about the brunch, and they also have a really good dinner. I have eaten there twice for brunch and dinner. There is an outdoor like patio, and then there's an indoor restaurant. It does really feel like old Key West. I lived in Key West a little bit growing up, and it did kind of feel like Key West. And everything I've eaten there has been spectacular. I've heard kind of lukewarm things about their dinner menu, but I really enjoyed it, actually. I have really enjoyed everything I've eaten there. Their brunch is from 7:30 in the morning until 2 p.m., and then they close until 5 p.m., and they're open for dinner from 5 until 9. So if you wanted to go at like 4 p.m., you are out of luck. Their brunch is very like Southern brunch. They have, oh my God, they have these delicious conch fritters. They have banana bread French toast. They have this crab cake eggs Benedict, which was delicious. And then for dinner, they also have kind of Southern type food. They have a prime rib. They have a mahi mahi. They have a catch of the day. So if you like fish, they have shrimp and grits. Delicious. A+. I definitely recommend going to check that out. If we go back towards the marina, you will see that there is a pool. Again, you can't swim in these pools if you don't stay there, but there is a little bar called the Gurgling Suitcase. I have heard things like that it's kind of infamous among some DVC members. There is a bartender there that was there or is there for decades, so people know about it. If you're into like a bar where everybody knows your name, I think this is a good bar for that. I have never went to the bar because I don't drink, but they also have some like conch fritters, and they have hush puppies and chips and guac and things like that. You can also get a cheeseburger and drinks, obviously. So you can eat a little bit at the bar. There is also a little takeout window for some food. And here's the thing, Solos, at that little takeout window, they often have a special Dole Whip flavor, and it has been key lime every time I have been there, and I have loved it. It is so great. It is such a treat. It's key lime and vanilla with a little bit of graham cracker on top, and it just feels like so awesome to go and have this thing that you can only get there and like watch the water and watch the boats come in. It's really cool. If you are staying there, that is also where the community hub is, where you can talk to any cast members about getting things like pickleball rackets or tennis rackets, although like I've said in other episodes, those are hard to do on your own. They also have a basketball court. They have a volleyball court. Yeah, they have all of that stuff, and that's all in that area. You don't need to search too far. They only have 3 pools at this very, very giant hotel. And if you are there, like where you're getting ice cream, you're going to see the main pool. And it's not that big. I was there getting ice cream once, and I went and took a look at the pool, and it was packed. There wasn't even one lawn chair to go and sit in. I was kind of like turned off by it. I like a quiet pool, as everybody knows, and I just found like it was way, way too busy. Fun, I guess, for people that like busy, but too busy for me. One of the reasons why I wanted to go check out that pool is because there is a lighthouse that is in the pool area, and that's apparently a sauna, and I really wanted to go and see if it actually was a sauna. There are actually spa facilities at a lot of different resorts around the Disney property, but they haven't reopened since COVID, so I was really kind of curious if this sauna was in operation. But you know, it was Florida heat, and there was no way I was going to enter a building that was going to be as hot as the outside. So I haven't checked it out yet. but I am interested in checking it out. Now, of course, you can't actually use it if you aren't staying at that hotel, but I really was interested to know if people who are staying at Old Key West could actually use that sauna if they want it to be hotter than how it was already in Florida. Now, there are 2 other pools on this property, and they are as far away from this pool as possible. Oh, sorry, there are 3 quiet pools, and they are, again, as far away from this pool as possible. Again, this is a very spread out type of hotel. It was really designed to be a neighborhood, so it's very car forward. It feels like a planned community, and so there are little pools in these kind of far off places. One of the pools has a snack bar, which is really great, but the other ones do not. Along with the buses that you can get to go to the parks, there are also buses that are shuttle buses through the whole property. So if you are staying in one of these kind of far off rooms and you wanted to take the boat to Disney Springs, you would wait for the bus and it would take you to that main building. And those run fairly regularly. I would say that your wait is probably as long as going to one of the parks. This resort also does have multiple bus stops, so it's not like you will have to go to one location because of how spread out it is. There are a lot of different bus stops, as I have learned firsthand, that will take you to and from the different parks. So should you go here if you're solo? Well, you should definitely go and check it out if you were not staying at this hotel. Go eat at Olivia's for brunch or for dinner. Go have a key lime Dole Whip. It's just a really beautiful kind of chill vibe. So definitely go take the boat from Disney Springs and check it out. Should you stay here? Yeah, if you want to, they have these nice big rooms, but know that it's a totally different type of experience than if you were staying at Port Orleans Riverside, which you can also take a boat to Disney Springs, or any of the value resorts or the deluxe resorts that are really focused on getting you to the parks. This is a much more residential feel. The other DVC resort that I want to talk about is Saratoga Springs. You can also get to and from Saratoga Springs from Disney Springs, which is kind of a nice perk. Now, of course, with both of those hotels, you can drive up to the front door as well. But it is nice to know, all of the deluxe resorts, you can get to at least one park by a transportation mode that is not the buses, except for Animal Kingdom, which I'll talk about when I do the Animal Kingdom episode. But for these 2 different DVC hotels, you can get to Disney Springs via boat, but you do have to take the buses to the different parks. Okay, so here's the thing about Saratoga Springs. I've got nothing for you. I have nothing for you. Should you go stay there solo? I don't know, maybe. Should you go there solo for eating or drinking? Maybe not. I don't know. I have never been enticed to go there. In fact, the DFB guy did a video a few months ago that was there's this deal on at the quick service golf restaurant at Saratoga Springs, and it's so cheap it might be worth going. And I just thought it was funny that that the selling point was the cost and not the quality. So I haven't really heard a lot of people talk about Saratoga Springs. And as a result, I've never really felt particularly drawn to it. There's also an element that feels very uninviting, very corporate. And then when I was doing research for this episode, I learned why. So the footprint where Saratoga Springs Hotel was originally the Disney Institute. Disney Institute is still around. It is a corporate training part of Disney, and they had a full corporate training site on this location in the early 90s, and the location didn't do great. So what they did was they changed it into the DVC, the timeshare program, because the old Key West timeshare program was doing so well. It was a complete refurb, but I do feel that's probably the ghost echoes that I feel whenever I've passed Saratoga Springs from the boat going from Port Orleans Riverside, for example, that there's just an element that is I don't know, just not as homey, I guess. One of the things you might hear about Saratoga Springs, which might entice you to go and stay there, is that they have these treehouse villas. And actually, if you are taking the boat from Port Orleans Riverside or Port Orleans French Quarter to to Disney Springs, you're going to pass Saratoga Springs and you're going to see these tree houses from the water when you are going on the water. And they're really cool. And you look at them and you're like, oh my God, who doesn't want to stay in a tree house? Okay, so they look really cool, but there's also an element that's like, they could look cooler. Like, I don't know. Every time I look at them, I'm just like, yes, treehouse. But also, like, this treehouse. And one of the things, a rumor that goes around, but when I was doing research for this episode, I didn't see anything that confirmed this rumor, was that those tree houses were built for a YMCA camp. That's actually not entirely true. Those tree houses were built in 1975. They were not built for Disney. They were built by Florida as a way to demonstrate a more sustainable type of community environment that was right on the river. But it never really took off. So Disney would use some of those rooms, and then actually in the 90s, those tree houses that were kind of run down were used by students that were coming to work at Disney, international students, as like housing. So now Disney still has housing for students. They're part of the college program and part of the international exchange program, but this was a residence option before they did this custom build. And from what I have read, it was often, even though, again, who doesn't want to stay in a treehouse, they were kind of considered like the not great option, residence option, because they were kind of run down. So yeah, the tree houses look cool. Who doesn't want to stay in a tree house, but maybe not these tree houses? Also, if you were staying solo, I assume you wouldn't want to rent out a whole tree house for yourself as well. So should you go to Saratoga if you are staying solo? Sure, but I mean, the coolest rooms you're not necessarily going to get for yourself. This resort also has a golf course, so there are some food options. One is like a golf course food option. Again, there was a hot dog beer deal that was worth going, but all right, whatever. There's also a lounge, and that is like a bar lounge, and that again is right in the building that's right off where you would get off on the boat, so you don't need to go too far. There is an Artist Palette restaurant, which is like your quick service restaurant. It's interesting because Artist Point restaurant is at Wilderness Lodge, and that is a completely different feel. There are also 4 quiet pools and 1 large pool and 3 pool bars across them. So again, like if you are going solo, is there a reason to go to Saratoga Springs? Not really, not unless you just really want to go and take a look around. The food options are kind of mid, right? Quick service is quick service. I mean, I do love a good quick service, but I haven't heard anything at these quick services that to write home about. I haven't heard anything at any of these restaurants that would entice you like a key lime Dole Whip to go and visit. So sure, go visit. Let me know how it is. And the rooms are also probably pretty big because, again, it was that particular era of DVC rooms. So if you get a deluxe studio, you probably will be very pleasantly surprised. And for both Old Key West and Saratoga, because there is so much room stock, there is a very good percentage that you're going to get a deluxe studio if you use one of those third-party sites and put your dates in. These resorts are most likely going to come up, and hey, why not? The other really good thing about Saratoga is that you can take the boat from Disney Springs, but you can also walk to Disney Springs. So there is actually a bridge that goes over the water at Disney Springs, and you are right there in the old marketplace area, and that's pretty cool. So look, I don't want to disparage it. I don't think you need to go out of your way to go visit. If you get a room there, I think that'd be pretty cool because you're close to Disney Springs. You probably wouldn't be staying at the tree houses. Please let me know if you've stayed there and what your experience is like, because I am always interested in learning new things and people's experiences of that. But let's talk about the Deluxe Villa Hotel that you definitely have already been to, or you should go and visit, which is the Riviera Resort. So Disney's Riviera Resort opened not that long ago, kind of just before the pandemic, and it is very close. It is walkable to the Caribbean Beach Resort. It's kind of on the end of the Caribbean Beach Resort. And it's interesting, I mean, this is just a personal story, but I grew up a little bit in the Caribbean when I was a kid, and my sister lives in Europe, in particular the south of France and like the north of Italy. Like she lives an hour from the south of France in Italy. And so there is something about being right in that location where the Riviera is and where Caribbean Beach is that feels very like, I don't know, just kind of clicks into my DNA in a particular way. I don't know if any of you have heard of astrogeography. It's like astrology plus geography. I haven't really particularly loved it or found it that interesting, but there is something about, again, standing at the Riviera Resort and seeing the Caribbean Beach Resort that like touches a particular story in my soul. Anyway, there you go. That's I did ask you another episode if you wanted me to stop apologizing for historical tidbits. Thank you for permission to stop apologizing, but you can let me know if you want more or less astrological tidbits, because we could do a lot more. We could do a lot more solos. So the Riviera Resort is one of the newer Disney hotels. I would have said it was the newest, but they just opened the DVC Polynesian Tower, and that obviously is newer. But the DVC Riviera Resort is a very new hotel, and I really do not think that they intended for it to get the foot traffic that it does. There is a set of stairs that I'll talk about in a second that kind of leads to the lobby, and I was there in like 2020 before the pandemic, and I remember looking at the carpet on those stairs and thinking to myself like, oh, you're getting a lot more footfall than you expected. And there is something about those stairs too that always feel like a little bit of a bottleneck, and I just thought, oh, you weren't anticipating to get as much foot traffic here, were you? So the Riviera Resort is Mediterranean Riviera themed. I don't think you really get that from the outside of the hotel, and there are elements of the design of it that I just feel like, I don't want to say they cheaped out on. Maybe actually, if you compare it to the Coronado Tower, like the Coronado Tower, that's a moderate resort, but the tower itself, they blew the budget on. And it's really interesting because when you come over to the Riviera, you're like, oh, they did not blow the budget on anything. They really didn't. I'm not disparaging it. I just think that a Riviera hotel could look a lot different and have a little bit more space. Actually, that's not true. Things in Europe are always very tight, but I don't think it was actually purposeful. I think that they could have added like 3 feet on like all of those public spaces, and it just would feel a little bit more open. But again, that's not necessarily a criticism of why you should or shouldn't stay at this hotel. So the reason why I think a lot of you probably already have visited or should visit is because it's right on the Skyliner. So the Skyliner has a line that goes from Caribbean Beach to Riviera to Epcot, which means if you are staying at the Caribbean Beach Hotel, or if you're staying at Pop Century or Art of Animation, or if you're taking the Skyliner from Hollywood Studios to Epcot, although that is actually a very silly route to take, then you are going to be passing the Riviera and you're going to be passing that Skyliner stop. And there's a restaurant there that everybody really loves, etc., etc. So there is a really good reason, and it's really convenient to go and stop and check it out. Like at Saratoga Springs, for example, I don't know why you would go and just stop there for the sake of stopping there. At Key West, I don't know why you would go and stop there for the sake of stopping there unless you were going to go check out Olivia's or you were going to go get a key lime Dole Whip, etc. But for Riviera, if you are, just traveling through Disney, you might be like, oh, why don't I just pop out here and see what it's like? And And why not? You should. So we are going to talk about the Riviera. We're going to do a walkthrough like we've done with the other deluxe resorts, but we are going to walk through from the Skyliner. So when you get off of the Skyliner at the Riviera stop, there are two pathways. One goes into the Caribbean Beach Resort, and the other one is a covered pathway that goes to Riviera. It's pretty clear. You can also just ask a cast member, but the buildings are right in front of you. Just like look in front of you. When you take that covered pathway in, it's outdoors, but it's covered pathway, you are going to go under part of the building, and you are going to see these beautiful, beautiful mosaics. And you know how beautiful those mosaics like in Cinderella's castle is? Oh my God, they're so beautiful. This is just as beautiful, but the Cinderella mosaic, that is a different interpretation than the Disney movie version. But the mosaics here at the Riviera are actually the characters from the Disney movie. So in a way, it's even more special to one's childhood. There are two mosaics. One is from Rapunzel and it's the lantern scene, and the other one is from Peter Pan. It's the night scene. They go all the way like up and around, so they are above your head as well as beside you. Beautiful place to take photos and selfies and just to like look at the artistry of these mosaics. And there's two fountains in there. It's just chef's kiss gorgeous. So beautiful. If you don't even go into the hotel, it is worth going to look at these mosaics. They are gorgeous, they are beautiful, and they're a really special thing to go and appreciate when you are traveling solo, because as I've said in a couple of the other episodes, that when you're with other people, they might be so busy that you don't really get to stop and appreciate these things. Or on the other hand, maybe they want to appreciate it and you're like, do not care, and you want to move on. So you can also do that. All right, so we'll continue underneath these beautiful mosaics, and then you're going to see this really nice topiary. I don't know, I take pictures of it all the time. And you're going to see the buildings that are on your left, and in front of you is one of two pools. This is a small resort, all things considered, but it actually has two fairly large pools, which is pretty funny. You could not swim in them if you were not staying at this hotel. They have like swipe DVC security. I think they knew that people could go on the Skyliner and just kind of swim in these pools. So no riffraff. Actually, it's interesting because the Caribbean Beach big pool, which is also right off the Skyliner, has also now instituted the swipe system. So you can't go and swim in those pools. Maybe the quiet pools at Caribbean, but that is neither here nor there. So we're going to pass that first pool, and you're actually going to see the gym in the building on your left-hand side. And it's a beautiful gym. If one was into gyms, it is a gym that one would want to work out in. In fact, there's often people working out in there, and I'm like, oh, look at you guys doing such a great job with all your working out stuff. I am also sweating, but it's because I'm in Florida. And then I open the door into the main building and the air conditioning hits me, and I'm like, thank God. In that door is where you're going to see the set of stairs that I had mentioned that goes up to the lobby. Now, this set of stairs is narrow and always busy. There's also an elevator, but you have to walk down the hallway a little bit. So you choose which is better for you. And up in the lobby, it's really beautiful. It's kind of small. It's a small hotel. It's kind of small, but it's a beautiful lobby, really tastefully done. There are DVC people there if you want to talk to them and learn more about the DVC program. There is a little gift shop where I have bought my fancy set of suitcases, which I really love. And yeah, wish there was more stuff in that particular gift store. You're also going to see in the lobby and throughout the whole hotel, there are artworks that are reimagined European artwork that are Disney themed. So for example, in the lobby, there is a Matisse, a redone Matisse with Disney characters, which is really cool if you like art and you like Disney. And in that gift store that's right there off the lobby, there is actually a option for you to go and order that very art for your own home, which I think is pretty cool. And I'm always really excited to do that because there's some art pieces that I just love, and they are very expensive. Very, very expensive. So if you have an art budget, then that is a really cool place to go and look for some different art options. But even if you're just an art lover and a Disney lover, this is a really cool hotel to go and look at these different art pieces, all that are through the hallways, that are in the lobby, that are in these public areas. Totally worth going around and looking. Also off the lobby is Le Petit Café, which is a little coffee shop, and I have often gone here to get a delicious lavender iced tea. There is also really excellent espresso. I've mentioned that my mother is an espresso snob, so we've done a huge tour of the different coffee around the property when I have gone with her, and this is one of her favorite places to get coffee. They have pastries, like French pastries and things like that, which are great. They often have macarons during the Easter and Christmas season, and actually I think maybe they also have them for fall, Halloween as well, that are like seasonal flavor. So this is definitely a great place to go and get a little coffee and a little truc, as they say in Europe, or as they say in the Riviera, to kind of cap off your day. But it does feel like the coffee is, yes, great. There's often a line, by the way. But the pastries for me feel a little fancy. I don't know. I mean, they're great. I'm not criticizing them at all, but I don't know, Toronto also has a lot of nice French bakeries and things like that. But I just think to myself, like, ooh, if I'm at Disney, I want something really obnoxiously American rather than like delicate and French. But hey, they're delicious. Like, it's up to you and what you want. You can also get alcoholic beverages here later in the afternoon. And I have been here where I have seen things like charcuterie and like olives and cheese and things like that, usually in the afternoon. It's a bit hit or miss. Maybe I'm just not like looking at the time, but there aren't a lot of places to sit if you are staying at this cafe. You really, if you just want to enjoy and kind of spread out and not rush while you're eating, which is the European way, then your best bet is actually to go outside and to sit on some of the outdoor seating that overlooks the water, where you can see the Skyliner. Not the worst place to go and sit and relax, but it is a little bit of a walk. Now, they did create some seating right behind the cafe. Like, it's literally the back wall of the cafe is this charming room. It is this charming little lounge room that has some seating, that has some table. It is like an old library. It is just the most wonderful, beautiful little room. It really does feel like a room at a Beauty and the Beast. But it is always very, very busy. A ton of people go there and work. There are always people there on laptops working. And that is really, really wonderful. I'm very, very happy for them. Maybe you are one of them. Maybe you could be one of them. Great. But it does kind of feel like a co-working space rather than a place to just kind of go and grab your coffee and enjoy and relax. So, yeah, I guess it's kind of a hit or miss also in terms of timing, right? Of when you can go and use that as more of a relaxing space rather than a working space. But definitely go and check it out, because here's the other thing about this particular resort. Yes, it's Riviera themed, but it's also really themed about Walt and Lillian and their daughter's trip to Europe in the 1940s and 1950s. So on the hallway leading into this room, you're going to see some beautiful photographs of Walt and his family in Europe. In this particular room, you're going to see books and artifacts of Mickey Mouse and Disney and things like that from Europe, all the way through like Disney's history. And there's also a ton of books that they sourced from Europe that are there just as props. It is really a museum, like someone who's interested in like, it's really a dream room for someone who's interested in history and Disney to go and look around. And I have been really lucky because I have been there when it's been completely empty, and I've been able to go and do that and take photos. But every time I've gone back to go and do that, it's just been full of people working, which is wonderful. I'm so happy for them. But I'm also sad for me that I haven't been able to go and like really appreciate that room in the same level that I was on those early days. But go and look. It is totally worth going to see. Now, if we continue down that hallway, like our backs are to the lobby, you are going to see the bathrooms that are on the floor. They're single stall, if I remember. They're very small. I've changed in there because I bought a bathing suit from the gift shop and I used that bathroom as a change room. I wanted to see if I had to return it. It's actually sad because I bought it in February 2020 and it looked super, super cute. And then the pandemic happened, and as a lot of people happened with a lot of people, my body changed during the pandemic with a lot of sitting and worrying and eating. And so I've never actually got to wear it. And that makes me really sad. Down this hallway too, you're going to make a bit of a right, and that is where the elevator is. The elevator going up to Topolino's Terrace, which we're going to talk about in a second, or going down to the main floor, which let's talk about right now. So if we are back on that main floor, remember we went in from the main floor, up the stairs, we looked around the lobby, we're going to go right back down. It isn't really far from where we started, it's just now on a different floor. You are going to see the two kind of outdoor quick service restaurants they have, and they are well worth it to go and visit. So the first one is Primo Piatto, which is their quick service restaurant. There's also mobile order options, but oftentimes with the deluxe resorts, you actually have to be at the deluxe resort or staying at the deluxe resort to use the mobile option. Just be aware of that. But they have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then also late night. And I have loved this restaurant. Whenever I've stayed at Caribbean, and sometimes when I've stayed at Pop, I will go and have breakfast at this restaurant because I have loved the elevated food options. Like, sure, eggs and bacon, great, perfect. Mickey waffles, wonderful. But to have like blueberry lemon pancakes with mascarpone and ricotta cream, oh my God, so delicious. I know I just said that I hadn't eaten the pastries because they weren't like obnoxiously American enough, but I don't know, there's something about, I don't know, maybe breakfast? I don't know, maybe I'm just fickle. I have loved the breakfast here. They have Mickey waffles and eggs and bacon and all that stuff, but they, like, the fruit options are fresher, right? That's what happens when you're staying at the deluxe resort. They have all the same things, but it's just a little bit more elevated. And when you're staying at Caribbean Beach or Pop Century and you're solo, maybe that's what you want. And so go and check that out. For lunch and dinner, they also have some really great options. They have, yes, like burgers and all of that stuff, but they also will have like a spicy Italian sandwich. They have a tuna niçoise sandwich, which is so amazingly good. It's so good. It's so good, period. And it's wonderful that it's at a quick service restaurant. They also have this plant-based Mediterranean vegetable pita, and it's really just like roasted vegetables on a pita with some like delicious hummus and a creamy spread. It's just so good. Every meal I've eaten here has just blown me away, and it's quick service, so it's very inexpensive. Right next to this quick service restaurant is an outdoor pool bar called Bar Riviera, and it's nice because it's also indoor outdoor. I had chicken wings here. I don't even eat chicken wings that much. The best chicken wings I've ever had, and they were also like put on the plate in such a like fancy way. You can get a lot of the things that you can get. It's the same kitchen as the quick service restaurant, so I've also had that like Mediterranean pita here. I've also had a tuna niçoise salad here. They have more options though, obviously. I will say I've had like mixed experiences with the cast members here. I don't know why that is. Perhaps because it's outside so that they get hot. Perhaps because it's a DVC deluxe villa. People can be a little bit more demanding. I don't know. But the fact is, even though I've had like mixed experiences with the cast members here, the fact that I can kind of sit inside, outside and eat this delicious food and watch the people in the pool has made it completely worth it for me. So when I have made the trip to go and eat a meal here, I've never been disappointed. It's been excellent, and I highly recommend to go and visit solo. I mentioned the pool, and that is where the pool is with the water slide and things like that. You can see it, and again, you need a swipe to go in. So if you are staying at the Riviera, this is a pool that you could use, but if you're there solo, you probably are going to use the other pool, which is more of a quiet adult pool. And there's one more restaurant that I want to talk about while we are at the Riviera Resort, and that is Topolino's Terrace. So Topolino's Terrace is on the top floor of the hotel. It is open for breakfast and it is open for dinner, and it is a completely different experience whether you are there for breakfast or whether you are there for dinner. So for breakfast, it is a character dining experience. You can meet Mickey and Minnie and Donald and Daisy, and they are all European artists, various types of artists. Dance, sculpture, writing, painting. Like, it's very cool. Their outfits are really great. It is a beautiful, beautiful restaurant. It has wonderful views of Caribbean beach and all of the property, and it's really beautiful. And the character dining experience is, a little bit more sophisticated because it's in a bit of a more sophisticated type of a restaurant. But it's still character dining. Like the last time I did that in my trip earlier this spring, there was a lot of strollers. But I had a later reservation and I had asked to kind of be sat away from the fray, and they were able to accommodate that, and that was really wonderful. It's a prefix menu and they have some really great options like steak and eggs. So if you are interested in character dining, but you were thinking that maybe it's just for kids, this is a good restaurant to go and check out because you can see how beautiful the restaurant is. You can see how beautiful this resort is. But you also aren't in the middle of the hotel like you would be at Chef Mickey's, for example, at Contemporary. Dinner, on the other hand, is, again, a completely different experience. It is a signature restaurant. It is high-end Italian, and it is delicious. It is so amazing. The food is so good. It is so elevated. If you want to go and treat yourself, here's the thing, you can go and treat yourself when you're at Disney Springs, right? But when you're at the Topolino's Terrace and you're treating yourself, you still feel very Disney because there's Disney art around and it's still very Disney. So this is kind of a great place to go and have this elevated dinner, but still feel very Disney because you can take the Skyliner there and see the mosaics and all of that stuff. This is an a la carte menu. So I talked about an elevated dining experience at Contemporary, at California Grill, but that's a prefix. So they want to make sure that if you're going to that restaurant, you are going to spend a minimum of whatever that prefix amount is. Here, it's not quite the same. You can just get an appetizer and a glass of wine and just kind of enjoy, or you can get a full meal. You can get a full red wine braised beef cheeks for $50, or a striped bass for $50, or a filet mignon for $60. There's just a lot of different options. And sometimes it is hard to get a reservation, but they have a lounge. They have this beautiful lounge that's attached to the restaurant. And if you just take the elevator up as a solo and say, hey, can I just sit in the lounge and order dinner, order appetizers, order drinks? Yeah, no problem. Because there is the lounge, there's also the bar. Plus, there is this huge outdoor patio. I don't know if they serve food there, to be honest. I have been to the lounge at night. I've been at the restaurant at night, also for breakfast. I've only been on the patio for breakfast. And when I was there last time for breakfast, I thought to myself, this would be a really great place to go and have dinner on the patio. Is that possible? And I never followed up. But if you are eating in the regular lounge for dinner, for example, you can definitely go on the patio and look at the view, and you can ask the cast member if you can take your food or drink out there. You can probably take your drinks out there. I don't know if they'll serve you food out there. But it is delicious. Elevated Italian food. Totally, totally worth it if you like expensive, elevated Italian food. And if you just want to dabble, the lounge is a great place to go. So should you go to Riviera if you are solo? Definitely. I definitely recommend going to check it out if you are at Disney World solo. Should you stay there? Well, there are a couple deluxe studio suites that you can see from the ground floor. And this is probably the type of room that you would get if you were going solo. It's the most like a traditional hotel room. And from the ground floor, those look very small. They look very insultingly small. It's really only a room that you're paying for being at Riviera. And if you're there solo, that's great because no one else could fit in that room. But I never stayed there. You know who has, though? Farrah Rochon. And we are going to go over and talk with her about her experiences staying there. And I cannot wait because she does travel solo all the time. And her instincts about what makes for a good solo trip are so great because she really is interested in putting her solo self out there first. So, again, make sure you go to the description below for the links to our last conversation, to the links to all of her social media, to my social media as well, and also to the Patreon where you can watch us talk, and you can also watch the conversation that I had with Francine, who is a DVC solo owner, about her experience being a DVC member solo and whether or not it was worth it. All right, how did we do for time? Well, we covered 3 hotels. So anyway, let's go over to Farrah. I can't wait to talk with her. Hello, Farrah. Welcome back.
Hello, hello.
When I was thinking about Disney deluxe stays, I immediately thought of you. And so I'm really excited that you could come on and talk about not one, but 2. So
Mhm.
everyone's going to be able to see or listen to your conversation in a couple weeks as well. But thanks for coming on to talk about the Riviera today.
Yes, one of my absolute favorites.
Can you introduce yourself before we get started?
Yes, I am Farrah Rochon. I am an author of both romance and young adult books. The young adult books are published by Disney, but I'm also a certified Disney adult.
Love it.
Certification, I gave myself that certification. Certified Disney adult, yeah.
Verified 100%. I totally am into that. And we have talked before. We did a solo story. The link to that is below, where we talked a little bit about just like your own solo journey, and we referenced a little bit of your writing. So I'm excited that we get to talk about it again.
Yes.
Yes. And I did say in this episode, because this episode I bundled all the DVC resorts together. And I was like, oh, Old Key West would be so great if you had a writing deadline and then you could take the boat to Disney Springs. But that is exactly what we talked about last time, right?
All the time. Key West and Saratoga Springs are both great places for like my writing retreats because I can just hop over to Disney Springs and get lunch or dinner and then hop right back over and get back to work. So I love those 2 resorts for that very reason.
Okay, well, first, I've never heard anyone say that they love Saratoga. So before we get into Riviera, because in the episode, I was like, should you go visit? I was like, no. So is there a reason why someone should or would go to Saratoga if they're not staying there, or to stay there?
So I absolutely love Saratoga Springs. It was our first DVC property. It is massive, and I love the proximity to Disney Springs, but also I think the grounds are gorgeous. If
Mm.
I could, I'm going to try to like send you pictures from our stay last week. I was just there. We stayed in the grandstand. It was myself, my brother, and my niece and nephew. And my nephew is obsessed with fishing. I'm not sure why. This kid grew up in the middle of he's like in Dallas, landlocked. But he's obsessed with fishing. He's 15 years old, and he wanted me to go to the store and get him a fishing pole. I told him, dude, Disney does not allow that. But that's how the grounds at Saratoga, they have just these nice bayous. And, there's also the Lake Buena Vista golf course there. So my dad, I was FaceTiming him because golf is his life. I'm on my patio and there's these people playing golf right there. It's just so nice and calm. And I love it. I think it's one of those resorts where you can really feel removed from like the hustle and bustle of Disney.
Mm.
You're still right in the heart of Disney, and you can walk. If you're staying in Congress Park, you can walk for 7 minutes and you are in Disney Springs.
Okay, well, I'm glad there is a vote for Saratoga because yeah, I was like, I feel really bad, but
Oh, it's gorgeous. It it really is a gorgeous resort, in my opinion, especially since they've redone the rooms, you know.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Is there any like food or anything that's like worth going for? Like I talked about the at Old Key West, like because like go and get the key lime Dole Whip. So is there anything at Saratoga
Yeah.
that?
Uh, not really.
Okay,
It's funny because my brother, he came in late. We all came in on the same day, but I came with his kids that morning. I met them, and then he came in at like 9:30 that night because he had to go to work. And he wanted food, and he's like, "We need to stop somewhere and get food." And I was like, "We can go to Saratoga Springs. They have a great mashed potatoes with meatloaf and mashed potatoes." He's like, why would I go to Disney to get meatloaf and mashed potatoes? But he did, and he liked that. And then there's like this brisket sandwich that they also have. And they, not that anyone would go there just for it, but they have their own house-made chips, potato chips, that like I always get something so I can have the house-made chips with that. So they don't have like these signature meals that you go to different hotels to get like, oh, it's this one thing, but I think they have decent meals that you can
okay,
get.
decent.
Yeah.
All right, well there we go. A plus one to Saratoga. Although I don't know what the ranking scale is because Riviera is definitely much
Oh,
higher. That.
Riviera is, yeah. You're just on the French Riviera. When you walk through those doors, that's what I love about that one.
Okay,
Yeah.
so tell me about your solo stays at Riviera. What are the rooms like? All that stuff. It
Oh,
seems like a really like a compact resort in comparison to
yeah.
some other ones, which I'm sure as a solo is like extra amazing.
Yeah. So I love, first of all, just it has the best lobby scent of any. I know everyone knows that, the Disney resorts, they all have like a scent. And Yacht Club was like my absolute favorite. I would just go there to smell the lobby because it was gorgeous. But Riviera beat out Yacht Club to me with the lobby scent. I even have a candle. They sell a candle, the Riviera candle. Um, but I love the compactness of it. It's whereas Saratoga Spring is this sprawling place with like five different areas and it sleeps, I don't know, like 2,000. You know, Riviera is this smaller resort, and you do feel like you are in this little bubble. I've gone there to I've had like writing retreats that I'll go to Riviera for because I always make sure it's during one of the festivals of Epcot because one of my motivations is to get all of my work done so that I can go to the festival that afternoon or evening and have a bite to eat, around one of the festivals. Um, but I think the aesthetic Disney has this way of just immersing you in this world that they want to immerse you in. All of the music that they play, they're Disney songs, but they're in French. All of the artwork they have like Disney movies and such, they're in French. You are literally like in the French Riviera.
I don't think
Uh,
they're just in French, both the music and the posters. I feel like I've seen Italian things too,
oh, they may have.
and
They may
maybe
have.
Spanish. Yeah. But yeah, yeah. I mean, the point is like, yeah,
I
it's
don't
so those extra touches are
Yeah,
très
I don't
magnifique.
know. I'll have to look because I really thought they were all French. To make it feel like you're on the Riviera, but now you're making me want to go and book a room.
Uh-oh.
Uh,
Vera and I talked about just how like, oh, it's like time to like quote get back to work. And so she's like, well, now
yeah,
I gotta book another vacation.
need to book another one. And yeah, I actually have Riviera points that I have to use. That's the hardest thing in the world. I have to use these points. But no, when it comes to the rooms themselves, the bathrooms are the best thing to me because they're those split bathrooms where you have like a shower and a tub area. So usually when I go with family, if I go with anyone else, I will get like a one bedroom because I need my space. My niece and nephew they're not 4 and 5 anymore. They're now almost 16 and 17, so they're much bigger. So we can't share deluxe studio anymore. I need space. But we did share one at Riviera because of that, the way they have the bathroom set up. I realize when you go with other people, it's that bathroom space that you really need more than anything. So I love that setup. And I just think I've stayed in both the deluxe and the one bedroom at the Riviera. And I just think they're well appointed. Again, that nice, it's clean, it's bright. I love that. Um, it's just like upscale to me. It just
Hmm.
has this upscale feeling. I know there are people who complain that the newer resorts don't have as much of the Disney magic to them, but I like a fancy hotel, so I'm fine with it. I really am. I'm fine with it.
But the Riviera, I feel like when I've seen pictures and stuff, that they do have quite a lot of like little touches in the
Yeah.
rooms that are European, fancy, luxury,
Yeah.
deluxe, Disney.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're just more subtle than, they're not going to be the in your face theming of like the music and art of
Right.
animation and things like that. Those are for kids, in my opinion, for
Yeah.
those with younger kids. Riviera just has a more, I don't want to say elevated, but I think that's kind of the word. It just has a more elevated feel, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the aesthetic, right? And also that's like the theme of the French Riviera itself,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's literally a bougie place. Like, yeah, when
yeah,
bougie is about the French Riviera.
yeah.
Now I've seen a deluxe studio when I've like walked off the Skyliner and I've like walked around and I like peeked in there. I saw a studio and it seemed really small, but you haven't mentioned that at all. So is that your experience in the rooms?
I
No.
think they're
Good.
comparable to the others. I think they're comparable to the other
That's
studios,
excellent.
but they have the tower studio that sleeps two and only has
Oh.
a bed. That is smaller. So I don't know what you saw, but that's supposed to be smaller. It only has a Murphy bed that has a huge bathroom for some reason.
Oh, right. Right. Yes,
But
there is. So there's like a smaller version of the
yeah,
deluxe. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Right.
So they have, and there's another hotel, the Polynesian also now has these studios, the Tower Studios, and Disneyland villas also have them. So
Oh,
it's like those are first, the Tower Studios that sleep two, and then you go to the deluxe studio that sleeps four.
so that's a really good point because in my brain, I guess, was all just kind of conflated. So to just like recognize if you're booking that there are two
Yeah.
different types of studio rooms, but if you're a solo, if you like make a mistake and book the
Yeah.
smaller one versus the larger one, like that's the stakes are much lower when you're by yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I've done the tower. I did it at Disneyland and it was okay, but I realized I like the space even by myself.
Yeah.
I like having a bed and a sofa and not having to decide, oh wait, I want to lay down, so let me pull down the sofa. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I want that extra space. And really, points wise for DVC members, it's only like 2 points, 2 or 3 points less for that
Oh.
much smaller room. And to me, it's just not worth it. I
Yeah.
think it's a little
Yeah.
small.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. One
Yeah.
of the questions I've asked a lot of people on these little deluxe solo stories is things about, like going to get breakfast or going to get a midnight snack. But I feel like at Riviera, it's less a kind of an issue because it's so compact. So maybe
Yeah.
you could comment on that. But I also wonder if there is a lot of like traffic, if you find a lot of traffic from people coming to visit and to see the
Yeah.
mosaics, and what's that like when you're there?
Definitely. Well, for one thing, they have some great food options,
Yeah,
and
it's so
especially
great.
breakfast. Yeah. I love the La Petite Cafe.
Totally.
Yeah, great. I will go in right in there. I will take my computer sometimes, and because it's like I'm working in the coffee shop just like I am at home. Um, but you will find people who come just because it's on the Skyliner route. And I think because it's still kind of new,
Hmm.
want to go to see it. And the,
Topolino's Terrace?
yeah, that people want to see that view.
Yeah.
And because more people are discovering that you don't necessarily need a reservation to the restaurant, you can just go in and have a drink at the bar and it gets you up there to see that view. I think that started bringing more people in. So yeah, I found that there's probably more people just moseying around, looking at the grounds, coming to the restaurants. They also have some of the best quick service.
Best quick service.
Oh my gosh, some of the best quick service. I can go to Riviera and not leave. You know how
Yep.
at Saratoga, yes, I do have to go to Disney Springs to get food most of the time. Um, I can eat every single day, lunch, breakfast, lunch, and dinner at Riviera and be fine with it. So good.
Yeah,
So,
I agree. Like I've stayed at Caribbean and I just go back and forth and I'm just
yeah.
like, is this a slice of heaven? I don't know. This just seems perfect.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. And it's easy to get to. I guess I can, like, I'm part of the problem. If it is a problem that so many people are coming to, because I've had several people ask me, for some reason, I'm just known, well, for some reason, we all know why. In my little town, I'm known, for my love of Disney. And if people have questions about Disney, they come to me. And I've had several people asking, okay, I want to go, but, I'm just in town for a few hours. I don't want to do the parks. I don't want to spend all that money. I'm like, you can go and just tour places. And I always give them Riviera as one of the places to, stop. I literally put together little how to spend a day at Disney without going into the park itineraries for people what
Oh,
to do.
those episodes, well, I mean, we can compare, but like I have an episode coming out in September that's just on that. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great way to like, well, the one person they had like a long layover at the airport. And like, why sit at the airport?
Oh no, no, go to Disney.
Come out to Disney and
Go to
just
Disney.
enjoy yourself. And I always tell them you have to stop at the Riviera to see the mosaics,
Yep.
enjoy a nice coffee and a fancy dessert,
Yes.
and lunch if you can. It's just the perfect spot, in
I've
my opinion.
never eaten anything I have not enjoyed there. Well, that's not true. I have had a steak at Topolino's Terrace for breakfast I found really salty and had to send back a few times, but they were
Ah,
so nice about it. It's like I think it's
yeah,
just their salt level versus my salt level, but like
yeah,
generally, especially quick service, yeah. I will
yeah.
say though that I do think for everyone listening that the view at the Dahlia Lounge at Coronado is a nicer view, a more Disney view than at Topolino's Terrace because at Dahlia Lounge you can see three different parks from that
Oh,
outdoor
I've
lounge. Yeah,
never, I've never been up there.
yeah, that's worth going for sure.
I want to. That's the one thing about being DVC is that it costs me more to stay at Coronado than it does at the Deluxe. So
Mm.
it would have to be, I would have to splurge to get myself like a night at Coronado in the tower to really, or just go up there, but I would want to stay. I want to stay there.
Yeah, I have thoughts on Coronado, but we can leave that for another one. One last question: have you used any of the amenities that are specifically for people that are staying there, such as the pools or the gym? And do you have any thoughts on that? Did you say,
Oh
oh
yeah.
no?
Oh no, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes, I have. For sure. I love the pool. They have the two pools at Riviera, and I'm a hot tub girly.
Mm.
I'll go in the pool. I actually remember trying to race my niece and nephew in the pool the last time we were there. And because I'm in my late 40s, my muscles decided to pull right there, and I went down like a ton of bricks in the pool. I'll never forget that. That's why I like the hot tub. They had to help me to the hot tub. But I love that they have the two pools. They have more of a quiet pool. Um, and that's the one you see when you go out to those great balconies. They have the two balconies, which is another place that I love, right off of the lobby. If some people probably don't know about it because they're always empty when I go, but they have these great balconies with these great comfortable chairs, and it looks out over everything. Um, and there's the quiet pool there. That's the one I love because I know Disney is for the kiddies, but as a Disney adult, I like having that space where I
I
can
don't
go.
think Disney's for the kids. Not the way I do Disney.
I have to remind myself so many times it's for, you can't say, darn, I wish these kids would stop making all this noise. They are there on vacation too.
I
But
was at a party the other day and someone was like, "Oh, you go to Disney. I guess you like really get a lot of joy out of seeing all the children being so enchanted." And I was like, no, no, I don't even like see the kids. Like it's just me being enchanted. I enjoy seeing me be enchanted."
it's so true. Although I just went not last week, but the week before when I went, my cousin and her husband and their four kids, they were coming to Orlando for another like a family vacation at another resort. But her middle son loves Mickey Mouse. And I told her, this kid has to go to Disney. So I think she has a 13-year-old, a 7-year-old, and 2-year-old twins. And I spent the day. That's the reason I did not get work done because I was so tired. It took like a full day to recover because my goodness,
Just a
toddlers
day.
did. I literally sat on the sofa for like 2 hours after I got back to my room and just did not move. I did not move. But seeing those kids, especially the babies, seeing Disney through their eyes, it has been a long time since I got that feeling because my niece and nephew, they've gone over a dozen times over the years, so they're not as enthralled with it as they used to be. So seeing it through those babies' eyes, it was amazing.
That's so nice.
Uh, yeah, but for me,
But
like
we're gonna weigh.
yeah, yeah. So it was great to see it that one time with them. And they only went to Animal Kingdom because their grandmother, who's my cousin, she wants to take them to Magic Kingdom and, all of the big stuff. But even just Animal Kingdom, they loved it. So I felt that magic. But I also just love resting in the hot tub at Riviera.
100%. But I mean, yes, I don't want to take away anything from 2-year-olds, but I think it's also the magic of seeing it all for the first time. Because I think there are a lot of adults who have gone for the first time or have gone for the first time just solo, and that there is also that overwhelmingness, but like it's more socially acceptable for kids to be like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But like that's why this podcast I think is so great or can be so great because
Yeah.
it gives people permission to be like, just whatever, act like a 2-year-old. The good parts of that though, and just
I
like
know.
really enjoy it. Like go see Mickey Mouse. There was a video that the Disney just reposted with like this woman. She was there with her daughter, and they're like grown ups. And the woman's on the phone with her husband saying, I met Mickey Mouse," and she's like crying. She's like, "I don't even understand. This is so." And it's like,
Yeah.
no, enjoy it, love it.
I still get excited. I'm sorry, but I still get excited if Mickey Mouse comes around or if Daisy comes there with her
Oh,
sassy.
Daisy. I associate Daisy with Riviera because I've seen her in the lobby twice,
Yes.
and I've always like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I,
Farrah, this was really awesome. Thank you so much. I can't wait to talk with you about Grand Floridian. But this is coming out. This episode is coming out on a day that you actually have something also coming out. Do you want to talk about
yeah.
that?
Yeah. So I know we're on a podcast, but I know some people may see this. So I
Yes.
actually have, I'm a part of this anthology called You've Got a Place Here Too. I am a graduate of Xavier University of Louisiana, which is the best university of all. And
Okay.
it is. I
Well,
say it.
sure.
It just like I did with calling myself a certified adult. I say this too. But it's also one of the best historically Black colleges and universities there. And the entire anthology is set, it's love stories set at HBCUs around the country. So I wrote one. My short story is called Second Line First Dance because it's set around Mardi Gras and there's like a second line, what we do here in New Orleans. But yeah, it's a cute little story. I had to call on my niece and nephew because I know none of the slang that kids, I'm writing the story set at college. It's been a long time since I've been at college. All of the other YA, stories that I've done have been Disney stories. This was the first time writing a story in that space with like real people and having to know like the real slang because I had them saying cool and hip and stuff like that. It's like, wait, no, that's not what they say. So it was an adventure writing that short story, but I think it turned out great. And I think the anthology, it's a great way for people who don't have a lot of time because each of the short stories are made, 30, 35 pages or so. It's a great way to just get a cute little story in here and there. So I'm excited about it.
Well, it also seems like a really important collection to feature Black romance, YA, and HBCUs. So that sounds really great. The links to all of that are below.
Yes.
Yes. And then how can people get in touch with you?
I'm everywhere. I'm always on social media everywhere, except for the place formerly known as Twitter. I've kind of like left that place, but I am on
That
Instagram. I'm on Threads. Yeah. I try my best at TikTok. I'm not as good at TikTok, but I am there. But you can always find me on my website. Yeah.
and all those links are below too. Farrah, thank you again so much. And I can't wait to talk about Grand Floridian.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
A big thanks to my special guest for talking about their experiences staying at this deluxe resort. If you want to support them as well as me, please make sure you follow us on our social media channels. The links to those are in the description below. You can also find a link to my Patreon. And in the Patreon, when you become a Patreon member, you can watch our conversation, the whole conversation of us talking. And I always find that that is a great way to just get even more enmeshed into the community of Disney adults and how wonderful it is to go to Disney solo. The Patreon membership is really affordable. It's about $1 a week for Americans and $1.25 a week for Canadians, and you get the videos from all the solo stories, reflections on each one of the episodes, as well as opportunities to vote on future episodes and a breakdown of all of the different upcoming episodes. There's also some bonus episodes that get thrown in every once in a while, and the more of you there are on Patreon, the more you can let me know what you need, and the more I can create those very things. You can also support the podcast by liking, reviewing, sharing, and subscribing to the podcast on all of the different platforms that this podcast is hosted on, which include Apple, Spotify, and on YouTube. I hope you enjoyed this episode and all the episodes of Disney Solo Magic. Thank you so much for listening. Bye!